Let me tell you something that might hurt, but will also set you free. Not every betrayal comes with cheating, shouting, or slammed doors. Some betrayals come quietly, softly, wrapped in, I didn't mean to. And if you ignore them, they will hollow out your heart from the inside. Now listen to me. We talk about love like it's only about passion, chemistry, and loyalty in the big moments. But real love is built or destroyed in the small moments. In the everyday choices, in whether someone shows up when it's inconvenient, in whether your pain matters as much as their comfort. Here's the hard truth. Some betrayals are not accidents. They are patterns. They are choices. They are messages about how much your feelings actually rank in someone else's life. And I know what you're thinking, but I love them. But they had a hard childhood. But nobody's perfect. But what if I'm overreacting? Let me say this with all the compassion in my bones. Love is not proven by words. Love is proven by behavior that protects your dignity, your safety, and your emotional truth. When someone keeps crossing the same line and calling it a mistake, that's not clumsiness. That's consent to hurt you. Today, I'm going to name 3 betrayals you should never, ever overlook in love, not because you're cold, not because you're unforgiving, but because your heart is not a punching bag for someone else's unhealed wounds. And I promise you this, if you learn to recognize these betrayals early, you won't just save relationships, you'll save yourself. Let me say this slowly, because your nervous system needs to hear it. When someone dismisses your pain, they are not just ignoring your feelings. They are betraying your humanity. This betrayal sounds like you're too sensitive. It wasn't that big of a deal. You're always overthinking. I didn't mean it like that. So why are you still upset? Do you hear what's happening there? They're not just defending themselves. They're rewriting your emotional reality, and that is devastating because love is not about being right. Love is about being responsive. Love says, I don't fully understand your pain, but I care enough to take it seriously. When someone repeatedly minimizes your hurt, they're teaching you a dangerous lesson that your feelings are inconvenient, that your voice is a problem, that your inner world is something to be managed, not honored. And over time, you start doing their job for them. You stop bringing things up. You swallow your tears. You tell yourself it's not worth the fight. You start shrinking your truth to keep the peace. That's not peace. That's self-erasure. Here's the research-backed truth. Emotional invalidation creates more trauma than the original hurt. Why? Because now you're not just wounded by what happened. You're wounded by being alone in it. A loving partner doesn't have to agree with your feelings to respect them. They don't have to fully understand your pain to sit with you in it. But if someone keeps choosing their comfort over your healing, if they keep protecting their ego instead of protecting your heart, that's not a misunderstanding. That's a betrayal. And you should never overlook it. I need you to hear this with your whole body. There is no such thing as a harmless lie in an intimate relationship. When someone lies to you, even about little things, they are not just bending the truth. They are breaking the bridge of safety between your heart and theirs. It starts small. I forgot to tell you. I didn't think it mattered. I was just trying to avoid drama. It would have hurt you if you knew. And on the surface, it sounds reasonable. It even sounds caring. But underneath it, it's control. It's fear. It's a quiet decision to manage your reality instead of trusting your strength. Because here's the truth about love. Love says, I trust you with the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Betrayal says, I don't trust you enough to be honest, so I'll decide what you're allowed to know. Every lie, no matter how small, teaches your nervous system one brutal lesson: you are not safe here. You start replaying conversations in your head. You start checking timelines. You start scanning for inconsistencies. You start feeling crazy for needing reassurance. And then they say, why are you so paranoid? Why can't you just trust me? But trust is not built by demanding it. Trust is built by earning it, moment by moment, truth by truth, Here's the painful part: when someone lies and you excuse it, you don't just teach them that lying is okay. You teach yourself that your need for honesty is too much. And that's a slow, silent heartbreak. A partner who lies to avoid conflict is choosing short-term comfort over long-term intimacy. A partner who lies to protect themselves is choosing their image over your safety. And when lying becomes a pattern, not a rare mistake, but a repeated behavior, that's not a flaw. That's a betrayal of the deepest kind, the betrayal of truth. And love cannot survive without truth. I want you to feel this one in your chest, not just hear it in your ears. Love is not proven in the easy moments. Love is proven in the moments that cost something. When someone doesn't show up for you in your pain, your fear, your grief, your crisis, they are not just being busy. They are making a choice about your place in their life. This betrayal sounds like, I didn't know it was that serious. I thought you had it handled. I was overwhelmed too. I'm just not good with emotional stuff. Let me be very clear, nobody is naturally good at showing up. We choose to show up because when you love someone, you move toward their pain, not away from it. When you're sick and they're suddenly unreachable. When you're grieving and they change the subject. When you're falling apart and they say, can we talk about this later? When you finally gather the courage to ask for support and they disappear emotionally. That does something deep to your nervous system. It tells your body you are alone in this relationship, and that's a wound that cuts deeper than any argument ever could. Here's what people don't talk about enough. Inconsistent presence creates attachment trauma. Not knowing if someone will be there for you keeps you in a constant state of hypervigilance. You start bracing for abandonment even when things are fine, and then you start lowering your expectations. You tell yourself they're just not that kind of person. You become the strong one, the self-sufficient one, the one who never needs too much. But love is not supposed to feel like a lonely endurance test. A partner who only shows up when it's convenient is not a safe partner. A partner who vanishes when things get hard is not a reliable partner. And reliability is not optional in love. It is the foundation. If someone keeps failing to show up when your heart is breaking, that's not a scheduling issue. That's a betrayal of commitment. And you should never overlook it. Now let's talk about the part nobody wants to admit out loud. We don't overlook these betrayals because we're stupid. We overlook them because we're scared. Scared of being alone, scared of starting over, scared of admitting we invested our heart in someone who can't love us the way we deserve. So we make excuses that sound like compassion, but are really self-abandonment. They didn't mean it. They're just stressed. They had a rough childhood. They're trying in their own way. At least they're not cheating. Do you hear how low that bar is? Here's the truth that stings. When you normalize emotional betrayal, your nervous system starts to confuse chaos with connection. Your body gets addicted to the roller coaster. The highs feel euphoric. The lows feel devastating. And the inconsistency makes you work harder for crumbs of love. That's not romance. That's trauma bonding. And I say that with deep compassion, not judgment. Because most of us learned early that love means enduring pain, that being easy to love means being quiet about our needs, that loyalty means staying, even when it costs us our dignity. So when someone dismisses your pain, lies to you, or disappears when you need them most, your inner child doesn't say, this is unacceptable. Your inner child says, this feels familiar. And familiarity is powerful. Familiarity feels like home, even when home was unsafe. So you start bargaining with your own boundaries. You say, if I just communicate better, if I just love them harder, if I just wait, they'll change. But hear me now. Yeah, you cannot love someone into emotional maturity. You cannot sacrifice yourself into being chosen. And you cannot heal a relationship by being the only one doing the work. Overlooking betrayal doesn't make you loyal. It makes you invisible. And the longer you stay invisible, the harder it becomes to remember who you were before you started king your soul to survive love. Let me tell you something no one warns you about. The deepest damage of betrayal is not what they did to you. It's what you start doing to yourself afterward. When you stay in a relationship where your pain is dismissed, your trust is broken, and your needs are ignored, you don't just lose faith in them, you lose faith in you. You start second, guessing your instincts. You replay conversations at 2 a.m., wondering if you imagine the hurt. You feel a knot in your stomach every time your phone buzzes. You brace for disappointment even on good days. Your nervous system goes into survival mode. Hypervigilance becomes your default. Peace starts to feel unfamiliar. Calm feels suspicious, and slowly, so slowly you almost don't notice, your self-worth erodes. You stop asking for what you need. You stop setting boundaries because they never seem to stick. You stop dreaming about a future that actually feels safe. You become smaller in your own life. Here's what betrayal really teaches your body: that love is dangerous, that closeness equals pain, that your needs are a liability, and that belief doesn't stay in just one relationship. It follows you into the next one, and the next, and the next. This is how unhealed betrayal becomes a life pattern. You start choosing emotionally unavailable people because it feels normal. You mistake anxiety for chemistry. You call chaos passion. You call breadcrumbs effort. And then you wonder, why does this keep happening to me? It's not because you're broken. It's because your nervous system is trying to recreate what it knows how to survive. But survival is not the same as living. You deserve a love that feels like safety, not like an emotional obstacle course. You deserve consistency, not confusion. You deserve truth, not anxiety. Staying in betrayal doesn't make you strong. It makes you numb. And numbness is the most expensive price you will ever pay for a relationship. Now let me rewire something in your mind, gently but firmly, because you cannot leave betrayal if you don't know what healthy love actually feels like. Real love is not dramatic. It is not confusing. It is not a constant test of your endurance. Real love feels steady in your body. It sounds like, I'm sorry I hurt you. I want to understand. Your feelings matter to me, even when I don't agree. I messed up, and I'm willing to repair this. I'm here. You don't have to go through this alone. Real love doesn't require you to beg for basic decency. It doesn't make you prove your worth over and over again. It doesn't punish you for having needs. Here's the standard nobody taught us: a healthy partner is not perfect, but they are accountable. They tell the truth. Even when it makes them look bad, they take responsibility without flipping the blame onto you. They show up when it's uncomfortable. They try to do better, not just promise to, and when they hurt you. Because all humans do sometimes, they don't minimize it. They don't mock it. They don't disappear from it. They lean in. They say, I see you, I hear you. I care about the impact I had on you. That's emotional safety. That's intimacy. That's what builds trust. Real love does not require you to abandon yourself to keep someone else. It does not ask you to trade your dignity for companionship. It does not demand that you be smaller, quieter, or easier to love. If you feel more anxious than calm, if you feel more confused than secure, if you feel more alone with them than you do by yourself, that is not deep love. That is deep dysregulation. And here's the part that might break your heart a little. The fact that someone has good intentions does not cancel out the damage they do. The fact that someone loves you on their own way does not mean it's healthy for you.